Hey, how's everybody doing today? Let me get my paper. It's kind of running behind. Not that I have anything else going on, but I'm just, here we go. Anyway, I just got back from my vacation in Bohol, and this is what my video today is going to be over, is vacationing in the Philippines 101. I rented a Airbnb, which is a lot like a bed and breakfast over in Mobile. So, and these bed and breakfasts you go to, they're supposed to have your kitchen and everything, so you can fix your own coffee and blah blah blah. But a lot of times, if you rent a hotel or any kind of accommodation here in the Philippines, you have to be really sure where it's at. I wanted to rent something in the city of Bohol, and hello, whoever's out there, send me a message who you are. I'd like to acknowledge you're online. But a lot of times when you go and you rent a hotel or bed and breakfast or whatever you're going to rent, a lot of times it'll say it's fairly close to wherever you're going to be going, like Mobile. This place that I rented said it was really close when it wasn't. It takes about a 45-minute drive to get there. So, and the reason why I'm doing this is because all the people that were staying at the place that I was staying, all of them showed up, and they didn't have a car, they didn't have a motorcycle, they didn't have any way of getting around. And they were from Germany, or they were from Australia, they were from Poland, one from Ukraine, the other one from Russia. They had all kinds of different people there. And so they're from outside the country, and they don't know how the Philippines works. So, you know, if you're way far away from town, there's not a whole lot of jeepneys where we were at, or motorcycles. So they're kind of stranded at a bed and breakfast with you don't have any food because you just got there, and you probably just stepped off the airplane and they drove you down and stuff, and just hadn't had a chance to get your essentials. So anyway, they got there and they don't have a place to get around and don't have anything. So my suggestion is, when you're getting ready to plan to come to the Philippines, that you make sure that you're renting something that you're prepared for wherever you go, you're not stranded. So I'm going to be talking about accommodations and also transportation, as far as making sure you're successful wherever you go. So we're going to be talking about accommodations, because that's probably the most important thing you're going to be looking at when you come over here. You're going to be, where do I stay? The whole deal. So, most of the time I would stay in a hotel. They're a little bit more reliable than if you go to an Airbnb or something like that. If you go to a hotel, make sure you book it. If you're going to be in an area for a week, don't book it for the full week, because you don't know what you're going to get. When you get to the hotel, it's going to, let me give you one, for instance. When I went to Dumaguete, I looked at one hotel, and it was a four-star hotel. And it wasn't a hotel. It was, I don't know what you would call it, Airbnb or something like that. But it was a 3.5, 4-star, and it was $16 a night. I don't know, like 750 peso maybe. I don't know, something like that. But it was fairly cheap, and so I rented it for I rented the room for 3 days, and when I got there, it was basically 6 feet wide by maybe 9 foot long, with bunk beds in it, wooden bunk beds with no mattress hardly, just a thin one about like that thick. So you don't know really what you're going to get. So if you rent it for like 2 weeks and it turned out to be out in the middle of nowhere and you have no transportation, then you're going to be screwed. So make sure you know what you're getting before you go. I would only book it for 2 nights. That way you're not stuck in a crappy hotel. Make sure you read the reviews. If it doesn't have very many reviews, I wouldn't necessarily stay there. But let me get back to one of the Airbnb where I stayed and these other individuals stayed. It was brand new. It just opened up January 8th, and I was staying there, last week. So it's not very old at all. So the rooms were very, very nice. And whenever there was only one place to gather in the evening because you had no chairs in your room or outside your room. The only place there was where they had a big table where you could go sit down and fix yourself something to eat there at a small kitchen. So everyone's sitting around the big table, and we started discussing our rooms. Well, I would say half the rooms, the hot water didn't work, and it's a brand new hot water thing on the wall. It's a little hot water tank that automatically gives you hot water when you turn on the water. But and then the half of them, the hot water didn't work. The water didn't work in my room for a couple of hours. It was completely off. Did not work at all. Just my TV, it was a brand new TV. They had cable and everything, but the signal didn't work 3/4 of the time. So if you get a hotel, you tend to get a little bit better deal, I would say. But it was a very nice hotel, and it had a very nice pool. But it's just the location and this was not good for a lot of people. 3/4 of the people there had a hard time. It took 4 hours just getting a motorcycle to help them in the trip that they're, and they're only there for a couple of days. They spent half a day just looking for transportation. So make sure when you're renting a hotel or an Airbnb, make sure the location is in town or someplace you can walk to get something to eat. You don't want to be stuck, walking an hour down the road just trying to find something to eat. You're going to be starving to death. So make sure it's close to some of the stores and restaurants and everything. But Mobile, stay in Mobile. Don't stay outside of Mobile if you go. And it's a very nice area. And there's tons of foreigners, and I had never seen so many. Make sure there's restaurants nearby where you rent. The downside to booking an Airbnb is, there's no food and drink there. And a lot of hotels, they have restaurants and stuff. You can go down and get you something to eat. But if you're in an Airbnb, you're stuck like Chuck if you don't have a car or something. So, there's no one there to help you arrange transportation if you need help. There's no phones in the rooms, so you're not gonna be able to call anybody, and the whole communication thing is really tough if you're a foreigner. It's hard you're going to have to borrow people's phones, things like that. In the Airbnb, they usually have TVs. Mine was new, but it didn't work, so I have one. And the Airbnb, they didn't have any free water. Like you would get a couple of bottles of water in case you get thirsty. You can't drink the water in the Philippines from the tap when you get here, so don't even try it. I would buy one of those little straws you can buy off Amazon and just take it with you just in case. You never know. It's always nice to be prepared. Also, another thing, there's no hot water. It's like in the U.S. and some of the UK and some of the other areas. When you rent a hotel room, they'll have the coffee pot and the refrigerator and things like that. There is none. There's no coffee pot and no refrigerator in, like, I don't know, a lot of them. I very rarely see that in a room that I have in the Philippines. No coffee pot, no nothing. So yeah, you can buy a coffee pot that is collapsible on Amazon, and it's just to boil water in. And then when you get here, or in the US, you can buy the instant coffee. It comes like this. Okay? That way you're not, hunting coffee in the morning when you get up. It kind of aggravates you sometimes. So, and most of the Airbnbs that you will be staying in, not most, I would say there's a lot of them. It's going to have a community kitchen and refrigerator. So anything you buy in town and you got a refrigerator, it's going to be going in the refrigerator. So chances, there is a chance that somebody else is going to be getting your food. I don't know. But anyway, it's community. Sometimes the bathrooms are even shared and things like that. So if you get a hotel, you'll have somewhat more privacy. So also the Airbnbs may or may not have security. Ours didn't have really a security issue because it was so far out of town. And there was people around the property that actually worked there, but there was no really per se someone there, a security officer or anything. So resorts and hotels, they don't have coffee makers in the room. Like I said, they don't have any fridge. The rooms are small and varies as far as the price range, but they will be kind of a small room, not what you're used to in the U.S., the U.K. probably, and small bathrooms. A lot of times, these bathrooms, when you go in there and you have to sit on the throne, your knees are going to be touching the wall. And some of these hotels, even the TV may or may not work. And it may be like a 2001 model with a tube. They're outdated, way outdated, some of them, not all. AC, some may be good, some may not work hardly at all, maybe noisy. So, and even some rooms may not even have an AC. They just may have a fan. So just be aware when you're hunting for hotels and anything like that. Make sure you're really paying attention. Hot and cold water. You may have hot and cold water, or you just may have cold. I don't know. You'll have to actually read that. They'll make sure and put it in the notes if they do have hot water. Always read carefully and check to make sure you're getting what you think you're getting. So transportation. If you're coming to the Philippines and you really don't know what you're doing, you land at the airport, I would suggest renting a car. It's going to cost you around, let me see, about $32 US, is about 1,700 peso. You can actually rent cars with drivers here, but that's going to, you really can't drive all over Cebu or all over Manila and take this dude with you everywhere you go. So I would suggest renting you a car, getting the insurance, getting extra insurance, and just being patient if you're in these big cities because there's a lot of traffic. And if you rent yourself a car, it will free up, being restricted and where you can actually rent a place. Like you can rent some of these really nice places out in the middle of nowhere to where it's really quiet and really amazing spot, but you can't do it if you don't have a way to get around. So try to plan ahead of time to make sure that you have transportation where you're at. Because if you don't have transportation, you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're hungry, you're going to be in trouble. Not in trouble, but, hard to find places. And before you go, before you come here, kind of scout out the area on your computer and find out what is in the area. Because a lot of these places, you go to some of the hotels or whatever, some of them provide information to where the restaurants are, and they have delivery in these bigger cities. So, you'll be able to have it delivered to your room or whatever. in the bigger cities, but the smaller cities don't have that, and they all close down early in these smaller cities. But make sure there's in the basic transportation in the larger city, in these cities, larger cities, are taxis. They're basic. They go around town and only take the meter taxis. Their bus is for long distance. If you land at the airport, you can take a bus to wherever you're going. Usually, on the buses that you usually have free Wi-Fi, and they're air conditioned most of the time. I've never had one that wasn't. You can also in the smaller towns, if you take a bus down to the smaller towns, you can talk to the whoever's running your hotel or whatever, the receptionist, to try to line yourself up a driver and to take you around while you're there, which is about 1,500 peso a day. I see it's usually the going rate. So also the local transportation in these smaller towns are jeepneys and trikes. You can also find you a motorcycle driver usually will take, you 3 or 4 of you can pile on a motorcycle and go. So if you rent a car, make sure and download the app Maps.me. Therefore, whenever you're rolling down the road, you can at least read the map, and it'll show you where you're at on the map and have a way of getting around. So you can also rent motorcycles in these towns or wherever you're at. Usually, if it's a tourist spot, they usually have motorcycles you can rent. So that's an option. So the average, and just to give you an overall give you a good set bar as far as how much these people usually make per day, is about 500 to 600 peso average, usually somewhere around there. It's around 500 peso a day. So whenever somebody comes up to you and you want to ride somewhere, and hey, 1,000 peso. Well, daily rate is usually, for a full day's work is 500 pesos. So you're not going to be paying 1,000. So just FYI there. So don't be afraid to haggle. Always be nice. In the Philippines, it's a bad thing to be rude. So no matter what happens, just be nice. There's no reason to get upset. I wish I could follow that rule sometimes. Sometimes I tend to lose it whenever somebody tries to double charge me or quadruple charge me. Also, a rule of thumb in the Philippines is if you're white, you're usually going to get charged more. It's not an insult. It's just the way it is. I've been trying to deal with that for a while. But anyway, that's all I had for you today. Thank you for watching, and have a great day. Bye. Like and subscribe.